All right, so you think you look at that again? Look, if is everything looking in order regarding our contract and the 15-year agreement and assigning the non-disclosure? So that's all for the legal stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks good to me.
All right. If you're lawyers, if there's anything else, just they notify my lawyers. I'll take care of it. But I think, and you signed the release, correct, for the appearance? Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So we'll begin, and we'll be informal here about it. I am honored and privileged, and just really super excited. Oh, super excited! I sound like a little kid. It's an honor to be doing this, and I know you haven't given many interviews in your life. Can you start out by telling me, why did you accept my? I wrote you about 12 letters, but you finally on the 12th talked to me. Why are you giving this interview? Tell me why. And sir, could you look right here? Yeah, that's perfect. Not to tell a great filmmaker about filmmaking, but
because it started to get to me after a while.
What do you mean? What good?
I've always been conflicted about it, I guess, but I wasn't conscious of it until later, years later. At first I was just blown away by the chance, the opportunity, the challenge of making this film, and I went into it like it was a regular film, like another production of mine, not thinking too much about the long-term effects, what it would mean to society if it was ever discovered.
Mm-hmm. What are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about. You're referring to something.
The fake moon landing.
The rumor about the fake moon landing. You're saying is not a rumor or not is not an urban legend. You're saying it's true.
Yes, I'm sorry. I thought you knew that.
But no, I didn't. I've heard it like anyone else has heard it, but you. Okay.
Yeah, it was fake.
Wait, okay. And I thought, okay, I have written down, and I thought you agreed to talk about Barry Lyndon. You agreed to talk about The Killing, Clockwork Orange. We're going to cover all these films, and I hope we still can. But what you're telling me is this? Because I've never. I think it would make the news if you're telling me now for the first time. And why me? Why not? Why not CNN or?
What? The rumors were true.
Okay. Okay, well, I obviously want to understand what the hell what you're talking about here. Okay, but why are you telling me? I'm a nobody.
The moon landings were fake.
Okay, and I want to hear what the hell. I'm sorry, what the hell you're saying? I don't know. Tell me how, what, when, where. I'd like to hear the story about this, but why are you telling me? And is that so? That's the 15-year thing. So that makes sense now. That's why I can't release this for 15 years. That makes total sense now.
Yes.
Okay. Because you have a super big secret that you're basically using me to conceal and then release like a time bomb.
And my upcoming film, Eyes Wide Shut, is all about secrecy. It takes place in the sexual underground, but it's really about secrecy.
Okay, well, before we even talk about the meta of secrecy, what the F's are like? Wait. Start from the beginning here. Can you start from the beginning?
Secrecy.
Okay, but let's take us back to the beginning. We didn't land on the moon, you're saying, and you filmed.
No, we didn't land on the moon.
Okay, so I was born in 71.
Nobody landed.
I was born in 71. I didn't see that stuff anyway. So just how about you walk me through it? If you have, just indulge me here. We'll just do it quickly, or as quickly as we can. How did something like this start? Do you apply to an ad to film the moon landings?
No,
like what?
I was contacted by NASA.
Okay, when, where, why? What happened?
Before I started making 2001, so in the mid-'60s sometime.
After Kennedy said his thing, you're saying?
Well, considerably after then, yeah. And they had seen Dr. Strangelove, and I had originally requested use of the B-52 to film part of Dr. Strangelove, and they refused. But they were very impressed by the final.
Great film. Great film.
It's one of my personal favorites. Yes,
Yeah.
they were very impressed by the look of
But
it.
they wouldn't let you use a B-52 that you asked for, right? You asked
No,
to
they
do
would
it.
not.
Why not? I mean, well then, so you had to run Rocky. Was it Rocky?
It's just force of habit. I think they're just very secretive.
Okay, and
Keeping in with the theme of.
but yeah, even though they denied you there, you're saying, well, what? So when you're doing 2001, obviously that's the space movie. So you're saying when you're doing the space movie, they contacted you then? I mean, obviously there's a relationship between that.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so what happened?
And they were planning this fake moon landing. They wanted
But
it
why did they have to fake it? Why?
because it is impossible to get to the moon.
It's
If you ask any scientist, we
Okay.
couldn't do it. Okay. There's the Van Allen belt, which is it's impossible to get past.
Okay.
If you think of our space program and how many trips we have made since the alleged moon landing,
Right.
they stopped in 1972. What sense does that even make? That if we went there, 3 or 4 times between 69 and 72,
Mm-hmm.
and haven't gone since, nor has anyone else, not even the Russians. It's a little bit of a stretch of the imagination to think that we did. Why would we not go?
Or no
it's
other country.
impossible. Because it's impossible to go. The furthest anyone has ever been off this planet is about 400 miles.
Wow.
The moon is several hundred.
It's a
thousand,
quarter million.
Yes, miles away. It's just not possible. It wasn't possible in 1969, and it's not possible now.
Oh, okay. So tell me a story. This is where you're going to tell the story of Nixon and his men coming to you and saying, Stanley, we tried our best, but Gus just died on the we can't get those boys up there safely. You got to help us. You said no, and they kept pleading about that. Patriotism, Russia, the boys. We'll get there in a couple years, funding, the shtick. And I decided, okay. And then you got the gift from God, a carte blanche filmmaking. So
Right.
just tell that story now and try to give it details,
right.
little ones as they come up. Okay, boom. Now, so tell me, so you're saying it's impossible. Could you give me a list of reasons why it's impossible? Cut. I'm going to do a voiceover there, okay?
Okay,
So
I
just
already did, didn't I?
yeah, but I'm going to give you something, and you're going to be like boom and boom and boom, and you're going to sound like you're an expert. So it's going to be
Okay,
cool.
all right.
So how about say this? I'll give you want a list? I'll give you a list. Number one, and then I'll cut. So could you give me okay? You say we can't go to the moon. Can you tell me the reasons why? We don't. You must know the reasons why we didn't go to the moon. You're doing an intro for me for the voiceover. Oh, you want reasons? I got about 100 fucking reasons, and then cut. I'm going to do a voiceover. Got it? Got it? You're not going to
Yes.
do the list. You don't know
Right.
the list, but you're going to intro me. Okay, wait. So you say we can't go to the moon. Oh, what are the reasons? Are there some facts?
You want reasons? I'll give you reasons.
Yeah,
How much time do you have?
Okay, just begin then. Start. Cut. Okay. All right. So you're right. That sounds like okay. Let's just say for argument's sake, those reasons actually sound quite compelling for us. Not only not having gone to the moon, but probably not even getting there anytime soon. But forget that for a second. What happened? Who approached you? Who was behind it, and what did they do to get? Did you say yes right away?
Nixon
what
himself.
happened?
Well, I had actually talked a little bit to LBJ before, but it was mainly Nixon. He had just become president. He was elected in late '68, '69. He took office, and it's no secret that NASA always wanted to fulfill this Kennedy prophecy that we would get to the moon by the end of the decade. Well, time was running out. It was 1969, and
But you met Nixon in '68-ish, and he said, "We have a problem, Stanley. We can't get those boys up there." Tell me that story.
Right.
Okay, try again. So you met with Nixon?
there was a if you might remember, there was a launch pad accident in '67, which killed.
Tom, you're going to tell me a story. So Nixon sat me down in the Oval Office, and he says to me, "That boy just died on the thing. This is how I want you then we're going to
Oh, you're
Neil.
telling me that
We're going to
Nixon's-
Neil. Yeah. When we go to Neil, you're telling me through Neil. This is our new template. It's going to be helpful to you. It's going to be helpful to you. So you're telling me the story through, and it's going to come to you like that. So Nixon sat me down and he said, "It's impossible, Stanley, to get to the moon. It's impossible." And now his boy Gus just
You
died.
don't want me to mention this the
Yeah.
accident.
Yeah. And
Okay.
he said, "Stanley, that boy Gus, he died of he died a fiery death. I
Yes.
don't want. Do you know what that would do to my approval ratings if those boys died in space? I mean, think about it, Stanley."
Right.
And I thought about it, and he was right. And he said, "And those Ruskies, if we don't keep up with them, they're going to take over the world. And I'm no communist. And I know you're no communist, Stanley. I mean, it's just child's play.
right.
Just do it, okay? But bring us there."
Yeah, all right.
And
all
then,
right, all right.
and I said, I couldn't say no. And so I said, yeah. And he said, "You can make any damn film you want. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's about, elves fucking girls in Peru. It's like, you can do whatever you want.
Elves?
Elves fucking girls in
Fucking
Peru.
girls in Peru.
I don't care if that, we'll get it out there, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Okay.
Just see and just tell a story.
Peruvian elves.
It's just saying, do your shtick. Do a shtick. Get in the fact that you're writing this time, and none of you's got to be drab. It can be funny in a very subtle way. So you meet with Nixon, and what happened?
Yeah, I met with Nixon.
And let me start you off. Pat was the first person I saw. I think she was high. No, Betty Ford. That was Betty Ford. Sorry, Betty Ford was.
Pat too. Actually.
Oh, Pat, you're right. So she was drunk off, and then I went and saw Nixon. He had just played golf. Start with details. It's so easy.
Pat was
Okay, so right, so you met Nixon. You went to the White House.
I met Pat actually first. I think she was on painkillers or something. She never said much, so it was nothing worth repeating. But when I met with Nixon, boy, that was an experience.
They just shuttled you in privately because obviously they couldn't have you. No one could know you were meeting with him.
Yeah, he had his shoes off, which, and he could smell his feet, so it's just really kind of amazing. It was not anything I could have predicted.
So it was a casual encounter. Okay, it was in the Oval Office.
Yeah, in the Oval Office, yes.
And
but it's funny, it's an Oval Office because the walls seem to be closing in anyway. But anyway, there we were, and he was, like he was, expressing how desperate he was to go to the moon.
What'd he
Not
say?
literally go to the moon.
What'd he say?
But to have people think we were going to the moon. He was worried about his own perception because he just became president, and his.
So what did he say?
He said that after all there had been an accident.
You're telling it in the third person. You don't have to imitate him, but you go, "You're doing good. You're doing." I know. No, listen. I know that you're doing good. You say you have to. This is how you tell the story.
Okay.
And he said. So I walked in, and he said, "Sorry, I took off the shoes. I was just playing golf." Okay, you have to do the voice. I'm doing the voice. You don't have to do the voice if you don't want. He said, "I was just playing golf," and he sat me down, and he says to me, and that's the story template. Is that it's always what he said.
Okay.
And then I said to him, "You know what? It's going to be really hard to fool that." But then he said, and that's the thing. That's how we're going to do it the whole night. Neil said, and then I said to Neil, "Well, don't worry."
Neil's there too?
No, this is later.
This is later.
I'm giving you a template. It's always, that's the storytelling method, okay? So we're not saying third person. He said, so Nixon says to me, and I remember, he just stared in his scotch as he said this. He said, fact, whatever it is. That's the perfect way to deliver this. Got it? Mm-hmm. It's okay. So you in the Oval Office, and what happened? And you're doing good.
Yeah, okay, so Nixon sat me down. First, he complimented me on 2001, which was nice to hear. And he said, speaking of space, going to the moon, he told me about the plan. He didn't, yeah.
So he says to me, you don't say he said anything. You say what he says, okay? That's all, Tom. I'm just giving you an introduction.
Wait, you want me
everything about I walked in.
You want
and he
me to
said
say
this.
it as him, or do you want?
You don't have to imitate him, but you have to say. He says, "Stanley, we've worked on this moon program." You're not saying what he said. You're not reporting it. You're repeating
I'm saying it as Nixon.
You're repeating it in a storytelling way.
All right.
So I go to this whore, and she goes,
Okay.
"Listen,
All right,
I don't do it."
all right.
That's the mood.
All right. Okay.
It's not like so. This horse said, "No." It'd be like you're like you don't have to imitate him if you don't feel comfortable. You just say, "Stanley, da da," whatever he says. That's how we get the information. We're doing exposition here. That's the way we're going to sneak it in.
Okay.
So we're there. You're at this Oval Office, and what happened?
Yeah, he sat me down, complimented me in 2001, and then he said,
You're doing it right. You're doing it kind of academically. Enjoy the story. You're spinning a yarn here.
Right.
So you go in there. Did he offer you a drink? Tell me, set the stage.
yeah, and he was already drinking, so I decided to join him. I don't remember what I had because I drink almost anything. He was drinking Dewar's, I think, which, I mean, if you're going to drink Scotch, okay, but Dewar's, I don't know. Anyway, he complimented me on 2001, and then he said, speaking of space, you know about President Kennedy's prediction of going to the moon by the end of the decade.
Well, it was almost like a mandate. Like he sort of
Yes.
like threw the gauntlet down.
And he said, well, time is running out, and we want to do that, but we can't. It's impossible. We tried. We've been testing this for years. As you may have heard, there was a launch pad accident in 1967 in which the famous Gus Grissom was killed and 2 other astronauts. Gus was a good guy, but anyway, and it can't be done. We talked to every scientist imaginable. It just cannot be done. But after seeing your film, I am convinced, and the gentlemen at NASA are also convinced, that you can help us make people believe that we have been to the moon and back.
And you must have been startled at that moment. Okay.
Actually, a little bit, but I also knew where this was going, and I thought, what a trip. What a trip this is for me as an artist.
Okay, you were still young and wide-eyed.
I couldn't help it.
Okay.
It's part of being, it's like the, it's the DNA or something of an artist.
Like your adrenaline got going.
Yes.
Your juice is flowing. Okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
And I was excited.
All right,
He
go
didn't
on.
even have to finish, but he did. And explained to me that he wanted me to film a fake landing with fake astronauts. Well, not real astronauts, but faking the exploration of space.
Because they just knew they couldn't get there.
Because there was just no way we could get there.
And the political, I mean, they'd spent all that money, I guess. And
Yes.
there was a political brinksmanship going
Yeah,
on.
of course, Nixon wanted to make a big splash. It was early in his presidency.
Yeah,
And,
that would have made him look really
he-
like a failure.
He wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah, he wanted his approval points up, and he thought nothing could do it better than this, to fulfill this dream that America has had as a country since the Kennedy years.
Okay, so you're saying the motivation was PR.
PR, absolutely, plain and simple.
Okay.
PR.
All right. And the geopolitical chess match between Russia that was going on, it would have weakened
Yes.
their position, so to speak.
Yes.
And I guess
That
money.
was background. That was a great background for the story. Yes.
But it was also, it must have been about,
Because
it
there
was
was
about
still
money, though.
a red fear, a communist fear among the people.
Right. Sure, that was right. You're kind of yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, missile crisis and all that. Okay. But it's also really about, like anything else, about money. I mean, they'd spent, well, the equivalent of $1 billion, almost $1 trillion of our dollars now on this program.
Yes. In addition
So,
to being
that must have-
impossible and unsafe, it was also terribly expensive.
But no, what
And that's
I'm saying
the
is that
answer.
it was so expensive that to fail would not, quote unquote, not be an option. In other words, at a certain point, you spend so much taxpayer money. My question I'm asking is Nixon motivated, whoever these men that decided this to perpetrate this fraud, was it the money? In other words, if you can't go to the, or maybe you can, I don't know. Can you go to the American people after spending $1 trillion and say, we've got nothing to show for it?
No,
So,
obviously.
but I'm saying is how much of that was the motivation?
Of course, that was a huge part of it. A huge part of it.
It's the part, really. Again, so many people, and the funding would have dried up. You have to go with that because that's going to be the whole Neil thing. That's why Neil goes along with it, because so Neil doesn't want the program to die.
Right.
Okay. So it's the money. It's the
Yes.
right. It's the PR politics. It's Russia, and it's the money. Okay.
Yes.
So it's balls and so it's already. So what did Nixon say at the very end? He looked me in the eye. Give me the clothes. Okay. So and give me some color, like
NASA,
some things
okay.
happening. So he sat down and he sighed, looked into the fireplace. Give me some details.
All right.
All right. So he said all that, and then what?
I think this was hard for him to get out. This next part. But he said the NASA's funds are just drying up.
No, they can't fund something that doesn't work.
Yes.
If we don't fake it, if we tell them the truth, the money goes away, and we think we're this close.
Yes.
So we have to lie. It's a good lie. It's a lie for a good reason. We're this close.
Yes.
But they never got closer. So it was even in earnest, maybe, perhaps. Got it? And it makes sense. It's like we can't keep the kid on chemotherapy if it's not working. So we're going to say it's working because we want to keep the kid on chemo. Like we're going to lie to save his life. Got it?
Yes.
This is a motive. Got it? And this is that's a motive. That's actually you can sympathize with that. Got that? Like, oh wow, all those jobs that you want to do. That's the hook. Got it? Okay. So Nixon says to you. So he goes in for the big close and he says you got to do it. And he guilts you about merit patriotism?
Has to save NASA.
Okay.
It was in deep trouble, and this was
why was it in deep trouble?
Just spent so damn much money, billions and billions of dollars. This would save them. This great PR would save them.
It's the reverse. It would destroy them if the truth came out. They weren't a damaged agency. They were the hottest agency in the world, Tom. If
Isn't
the
it the
truth
opposite
came
of what
out,
you just told me?
No. I said, if the truth comes out, NASA is destroyed overnight. The program's destroyed overnight.
All right.
They weren't a hurting agency. They were the hottest thing in the news. They were the darlings of everyone. But then they realized they couldn't go. Tell the truth and become the stepchild, the redheaded stepchild, and lose the money, or lie, and then we'll get there in 73. So keep it going. That was the kicking can down the road rationalization they made.
All right.
It's simple though. Okay, ready? So Nixon.
If you keep making it up,
I'm not making it up. It's the plausible reason.
All right, Tim.
It's not even up. I'm not making it up. Why would you lie about this, Tom? Why? To keep the funding, to keep the program going so you can get there. But it never happened because it was insurmountable.
All right.
That's it. Okay. So I'm not making anything up.
Okay.
PR with the Russians. We don't kill those boys. It's unsafe. And the money.
We couldn't.
So Nixon says what? Give me some details. Give me some details. He sat down.
We couldn't just tell people the truth.
Let's start with them. The big finish. So Nixon sat down. Give me some color. Tell a story.
Go back to the beginning?
No.
All right.
Keep color. So Nixon at this point, I think, like you said, it was hard for him to say this next part. He sat down. He looked at his scotch. Looked into the fireplace for a minute. Took a breath. Drank the scotch, and then he said, "Stanley." And you gotta give me more Stanley.
Yeah, it was.
Gotta give me more Stanley. No.
Okay.
Take a pause and begin the scene. Okay. All right. So yes. And now, drink your drink while you drink your drink while you tell the story.
All right,
okay.
all right.
Come on, you're reminiscing.
Yeah.
Okay. So with Nixon, and what happens? So Nixon says,
it was hard for him to say this next part. He was looking into his drink, kind of like I am now, and finally he said that we can't tell people the truth, that we can't get to the moon. It would be disastrous for NASA. Their funding would dry up. People wouldn't have faith in them anymore. It would be like a
faith. It would be over,
failure.
right? It would be over.
Yes, it would be absolutely over. So if we fake this moon landing, it would do nothing but increase the reputation, and we could go again and again if we had to.
Well, I mean, just to go with the first time. I mean, so they wanted to keep the funding going. Why? Because.
Well, obviously. What do you mean?
Why they wanted to lie about the moon landing to keep the funding going? Why?
Just to keep NASA viable.
Why though? Why?
Why not? Because people believe in NASA.
No. Because they thought that the moon landing was just a few more years, that if they would get there, they just kept the funding going, they could get there, they could figure the problems out, but they never did. That's the point. It's not arbitrary. We want to keep NASA alive because it's the dream, and we knew
You're saying NASA believed they still could.
They at the time, and then finally it hit them. And probably by 75, we're fucking never getting there.
All right, okay.
That's the sympathetic reason why they did this.
Right.
And you're like, wow, that makes sense, but it's still wrong. Get it?
Okay, yeah.
So that's a big thing. I said this to you. Let's try again. Ready? So Nixon says what? Grab your drink, and action.
What they believed was if we could.
Nixon sat down. Color. Tell me a story, Tom. Come on, color it.
Okay. Am I going back
from the ending? The ending. Nixon sat down, looked at his drink, looked in the fire, and said, "Stanley, wrap it up. Wrap it up."
All right. So Nixon, this next part was hard for him to say.
Towards me.
He looked at his drink kind of like this and said, "We have to fake this. We have to fake this moon landing, just to keep interest in NASA and." In the next few years, we might actually be able to go for real.
Come on.
Because we wouldn't give up. We'd still work on it. We would still be working on it, trying to make this trip possible. But we have to do it now.
No, because they were so close,
Because we were so damn close. We had to do it now.
And if you didn't lie, it would dry up. We were on the brink of something.
Yes, and if we didn't fake this, if we didn't lie about it, eventually people would lose interest, and the funding would dry up for NASA. It would just cease to exist.
The dream.
And the dream would be dead. It would be gone. The greatest thing in the world for this country would be to go to the moon. And that being gone, it would be just devastating for the national mood.
It was about money.
And
I'm just giving you lines. So it was about the money. It was about the morale.
Yeah, it was about morale. It was about money. It was about money. It was about morale. Chiefly money, as most things are, and that's what was.